My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask you for pardon for my sins and grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. You tell us in today's Gospel, Jesus, that as you were coming down from the mountain of the Transfiguration, you came upon your disciples arguing with the scribes. A man had brought his son, possessed by a demon, to be cured by you. And in your absence, your disciples decided to try this exorcism. They have seen you do it many times, and in fact, you had sent them to preach before, and had given them the power to cast out demons. So that's why, I guess, they dared to try it. But it didn't quite work. The unclean spirit wouldn't go away. I imagine the apostles trying one after another. Andrew, maybe, saying to the Father, "Let's see, bring him here to me. You, unclean and pestilent spirit, get out of that child at once." But nothing happened. Then maybe Philip, "Wait, let me try. Evil spirits, in the name of Jesus, come out of this child." Nothing happened. Maybe Matthew, a tax collector, comes forward and says, "Wait, I'll do it. You evil spirit, go to hell now." But it didn't work. Maybe even someone suggested, "Why don't we try all together? Let's see if it works. Ready, steady. You unclean spirit, go away." But nothing happened, and the father of the child was desperate by now. And then you, Jesus, came back from Mount Tabor with Peter and James and John, and you asked what was going on. "Teacher," the father explained to you disheartened, "I have brought to you my son, possessed by a mute spirit. Wherever it seizes him, it throws him down, he foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. And I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they were unable to do so." He sounds disappointed. Your disciples were unable to do so. Now, obviously, they lacked faith, the father of the child and the disciples as well. But you, Jesus, seeing that many people were already beginning to gather around, you exclaimed, "Dumb and deaf spirits, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." And it was said and done. The child was cured in that instant. And then comes the part where I wanted to stop in this time of prayer with you, Jesus. Your disciples were a little frustrated. They had said the same things to the unclean spirit, but they had paid less attention to them than I do to commercials on YouTube, right? And we read that afterwards, when they were alone, they asked you, "Why couldn't we drive the spirit out?" And you said, "This kind can only come out through prayer and fasting." Now, fasting does not appear in all the Greek manuscripts, but in most of them. That's right. To cast out these evil spirits, it was not enough to say the right words, to follow the ritual. It took prayer and mortification. Now think about it. I'm sure that you have people in mind that you have been praying for, who seem to have a hard time getting closer to God. You've been waiting for years for people or situations to change, perhaps with the same frustration of the apostles. Well, nothing is changing. Why couldn't we drive the spirit out? They tell of a priest who went to see St. John Mary Vianney, the cure of Ars. And he told the saint that no matter how much he tried, how much he prepared his homilies, or how many hours he spent in the confessional, how many vigils and novenas and missions he organized. Nothing worked. He told him that he had tried everything. And the curé of Ars said to him, "Well, let's see. You have prayed, shed tears, groaned and sighed. But have you fasted? Have you spent nights in prayer? Have you slept on the floor? Have you used corporal mortification? For until you have done all these things, you have not tried everything." You see, souls are expensive. To save them, it takes prayer and sacrifice. If souls are not coming back to you, Jesus, perhaps it's because we haven't suffered for them. We haven't fasted for them. We haven't offered enough sacrifices and mortifications. We haven't paid the price. It would be like complaining that the Coke machine won't give me a can if I've never inserted a coin. When bringing souls to Christ, no pain, no gain. You can't expect conversions without sacrifices. For sometimes we are anxious to find out what else we can do, what else we can say, what books or documentaries or arguments we can use to bring souls closer to you, Jesus. And we forget that the effectiveness is still on the cross. When St. John Mary Vianney arrived in Ars, it was a village with very little religious practice. Only a few women and one man went to Mass. And when he arrived at his parish, he knelt down and prayed aloud, "My God, grant me the conversion of my parish. I consent to suffer as much as you wish for the rest of my life, for 100 years, the most intense pains, as long as my people are converted." Well, have you ever prayed like that? For with the same words, he insisted during his prayer before the tabernacle. And many days at dawn, he was still there in prayer. St. John the 23rd said of him, "You cannot begin to speak of St. John Mary Vianney without automatically calling to mind the picture of a priest who was outstanding in a unique way in mortification. This led him to abstain almost completely from food and from sleep, to carry out the hardest kinds of penances, and to deny himself with great strength of soul. About fasting, he would boil some potatoes and leave them in a basket for several days, and when he was hungry, he would eat one and return to the confessional. He often fasted for days at a time. He slept on a bare mattress, on the floor, and sometimes on a bundle of firewood in the cellar. He made a resolution never to enjoy the fragrance of a flower, never to taste fruit or drink during the hottest heat of the summer. When he was on his knees, he would not rest his elbows on the kneeler. He never complained. You see, by the end of his life, all Ars had been converted. Everyone went to Mass, most of them every single day. Thousands came to his confessional from all over France. So, you see, saints who bore the most apostolic fruits didn't do so by their preaching, by writing beautiful books, or by being popular. They were the most penitent. They paid for souls. Like you and me, saints faced the same evil spirits that only go away with real prayer and fasting. We will begin Lent in a couple of days. It is time of penance. Well, maybe in your prayer, we can prepare for Lent with a new list of sacrifices, generous, demanding. Do you want that person to come closer to God? Remember the words of the Cure of Ars. Have you fasted for that person? Have you mortified your sleep, your food, your curiosity for that person? My Mother Immaculate, help me to be generous in my mortifications, in my sacrifices, to be able to drive away those demons that only live with prayer and fasting. I give you thanks, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask you for help to put them into effect. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.